amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed.
There are very, very big arguments over where the person is coming from, even to the extent that people say, yes, it can come from this place. We have hundreds of competent people. Our problem, if you let us be the ones who provide you with the candidates, is that we are going to look for the very best one we have and present. But then the basic argument is still that if it is restricted to people from a particular area, competence and merit is still going to be sacrificed.
Look, if you don't have, when people talk about recruitment, a recruitment is a function of many things. And by the way, when we talk about zoning, the simple language is that we are zoning corruption. We are not zoning governance. We are zoning corruption. And Nigerians have gotten to a point in which, you know what? We are not looking, Nigerians have made peace with the fact that politics is what it is. That is that it's about theft of state resources. And they expect you to come to Abuja and they will blame you for coming to Abuja and coming back with nothing. So the Senate president cannot go back to his constituency and say, these are the number of bills that I have sponsored. Okay? They are in the National Assembly. They are supposed to be making laws. So the point is, when women say we want a bit of this action, everybody who wants to participate in this process in Nigeria just wants a bit of the corruption. We have no moral argument about the essence of going into power. So let our own man also, our woman also get into this thing and participate. The processes that ought to have brought us to where we are, we went by the wrong route. That's why today we are still debating about our constitution. Because as a turnover of what the military did, which is the center of the debate about the constitution, that they handed us a constitution, although arguments are, and if you speak to General Abdul Salam, he will tell you, some of us with memory still remember, that the military didn't just hand over a constitution. The military said, under Nikki Toby, here, go, run around, find out from Nigerians what they want. Nigerians came back and said, we want the 1999. Whatever it is, we don't know. But do constitutions by themselves guarantee good governance? Does having a Bible mean you go to heaven? Does having the Holy Quran mean you go to heaven? We don't know. So there is a conflict that we have not defined what the essence of participation in government is all about.
No, because I was going to say that we've had very good constitutions in the past. It was the operators that spoiled them.
Well, so good. So let us not quarrel with the structure. We quarrel with those who have privatized the structure, whose primary essence is corruption. Because, okay, here the way I listened to the chairman of the APC say, why are you people complaining about us asking for 100 million? We have to run the party now. It's a measure of the consciousness of the ordinary Nigerians, that people will make this kind of a law, and there's no agitation, there's no protest, nothing. You have a democracy, then you raise up this bulwark. No matter how persuaded I am, because you have already said very clearly, only corrupt people can enter here. Never mind these shenanigans of people are shamelessly giving money under the table, and they wake up and say somebody has gone to buy ticket on our behalf. This charade won't take us anywhere. But guess what? It is to say that we inherited, once the military infected this process by the nature and strategy of its engagement with the state through a coup, all it meant was that processes went through the window. So you only became president in a military government depending on your ability to keep the guns away. Somebody turned up from under the table with a gun, he became head of state. There are no qualifications. Now, if you look at the constitution of South Africa, what the South Africans did was that they started their debate. Mandela came out of prison in 1990. They started their debate over their constitution, and it ran for about 2 or 3 years. Now, they were able to synthesize and throw away all the corrosive elements that were capable of creating tension. Nigerians have been debating a constitution since what time? Every time we start the debate, we get stuck over Sharia law and its scope. Now, If we had had a real...
Which is part of the identity thing you mentioned.
Yes, but if we had had a real conversation, the South Africa, I mean, the American Constitution was written by 55 people. But the quality of minds that wrote that Constitution, with all its whatever, was such that, you know, you read it and it's literally, you can't believe it's a document that's over 200 years old. How could these people have foreseen all those kinds? Because it's about imagination. And I served as secretary of the political reform. So I have one or two things in terms of experience and exposure about how these things are done.
You also produced something from that political reforms conference, which all the people who attended it are swearing by, that there's no need for anybody to gather again. Well, you should just go and dust up that document.
No, well, again, you see, the point I really was going to make is the quality of people that participate in this process.
Yes.
Wonderful human beings. But guess what? The very fact that this system is ambushed by the fact that it is the governor who chooses those he wants to, that's what we've always done. Since 1975 or 76. That's what we've always done. The governor is the one who decides those he wants to send to Abuja. They are always his friends, or always his relations, or people that he's happy with. And they come with a political agenda. 80% of how many, like when I was researching for my PhD thesis, and I went back to look at the proceedings of the 1977 Constituent Assembly.
Yes.
It was very interesting that when they got stuck, when Shagari and all the Muslims walked out of the Constituent Assembly on grounds of this inclusion of the clause on Sharia law, the interesting thing was they set up a committee of quote-unquote wise men, and there were 25 of them, led by late Chief Simeon Adebo. I went back and tracked the political trajectory of each and every one of those people and discovered that they found a compromise, okay, to let the process go on. But what was very interesting was that 24 out of the 25 ended up in the MPN. All right? The only person who was there in the MPN at that time was Paul Onongo. But Paul Onongo joined MPN when he got a job in 1983. So what am I saying? It is that we send these people to Abuja, many of whom don't even know what has brought them to Abuja. All right? And then at the end of the day, the platform is a platform for political transaction. That's all. The issue of what will make this country go this way or that way is the list of their concerns. So we are weaponizing processes that should be the result of intellectualism. For me, to write a constitution, you don't need every state to send 3 people. You don't need that number. The one we were involved in was 400 and something people. Not a great market of ideas. There were no new things that we are saying. So what I'm saying is we must return to the scene of the crime, which is that so far what we've been running is a semi-feudal state, okay, that does not have the capacity to pass muster for being a democracy. Because the processes of democracy are pretty straightforward. Because like I was saying about South Africa, by the time the South Africans went in to conduct elections, they had already concluded written their constitution. So Mandela and his people who got into the assembly, all they needed to do was they couldn't touch the constitution. They just had to append their signature. Because by then, all the kind of things that we are agitating about had been done and dusted.
Yeah.
So the Nigerian elite does not want to discuss what the Niger Delta people are saying about their conditions and about their welfare. And I had the honor of serving, as a presidential facilitator of the conflict between the Ogoni people and Shell. And it was a metaphor for the problems of the Niger Delta. And the Nigerian elite has a tendency, when a community has a problem, they think that, okay, we have appointed one of you as a come and chop. So what are you still agitating about? So for me, these things are, they are how will I put it? A nation that does not privilege the intellect, which is what Plato said a long time ago, which is that the philosopher king, we are not saying that other people are not necessarily important. No. But I don't know where uneducated people have built a civilization. That's why the alternative, the democracy by illiterate people is a mobocracy. They just want to see blood. So I'm saying, and if you don't privilege intellect, because by now it should be possible to say, you want to be governor of Lagos State, or you want to be governor of your state, you didn't go to University of Ibadan, or he didn't go to University of Lagos. There are certain institutions that should be the hallmark for defining what a country should be able to produce. You could call them mafia, whatever it is, but they are a mafia for good. Because they have the capacity and the ability to see beyond. Because building a nation is about imagination. You imagine a reality that is not there. But then you now, like the architect who designs a building, his mere design is not a building. Now, when he finishes his design, he has an idea. He's already mentally in the house. But it depends on that why a house is collapsing in Lagos. Because the architect does his design. The man decides that he wants to use 4-inch block instead of 6-inch block, that he wants to do this instead of that. So for me, this is what it's all about, that the people to frame, to provide the scaffolding for governing a nation should be people who have an idea, who have ideas. This is why people are at the university. And like I said, you cannot be doing the things that Nigeria is doing to education and hope to build a nation. No, you're just going to have a mob where the Nigerian political class says, we are going on campaign. So you go on campaign, you go and greet a traditional ruler, and then you talk, and he talks, and then you go, and you think you spoke. Meanwhile, these politicians are going through universities. They can't stop in a university to address the political science students. They can't. These are the people who are going to vote for them. But the Nigerian politician is afraid of ideas. He's afraid of context. And this is the hand we've been dealt. So it's not a miracle that we are just going around and going nowhere.
But if this is the hand that we've been dealt, and everybody is complaining about that hand, they don't like it, they want to change it, they want a different hand, but it seems as if all the options are blocked, both by the identity politics. The ones that are not blocked by the identity politics are blocked by corruption. The ones that are not blocked by corruption are blocked by, the level of education of the mass, which should drive the process, and then from which a leader should emerge to move the society forward. It kind of gives up the impression that we're swimming against the current and maybe we should stop swimming.
No. See, I tell young people who are getting married, a wedding is not a marriage. All right? A wedding is a ceremony. It's not the marriage. The marriage starts after the wedding. And of course, you're married. There are all these promises of swimming the deepest river and climbing the highest hill for her. It's really not the real thing.
It's poetic, but it's not the ground.
No, but okay, it swept her off her feet, you got married, that's fine. The question is not that marriage is good or bad, it is that she now has to have the mental capacity to remind you of the promises that you made. Because I took a class with somebody about women, and the guy says, he said, look, women think differently. You know the books, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. The way women think is different. And the guy was saying, women have the capacity to absorb so much information. Men talk, but the women process everything. And they will remind you, okay, laddie, this promise you made on January 5th, saying that we are going to go to, how now? But she has to confront you with the promises you made to her. Because left for you, you still want to go back with, to the boys you left behind and to continue the life. So in the same way, when you elect a leader, Nigerians think that we've elected Buhari, so he must change Nigeria for us. We've elected the next person, so it's not going to happen. And if you don't develop a robust process of engagement, we will come back to Nigeria and say, Buhari was not so bad. After only few people died in Southern Kaduna, 30 people died. Because if we are true to the tradition of Nigeria, is that tomorrow, yesterday is always better than today and tomorrow. So I'm saying this country will change, and it can change. But all of us must roll up our sleeves. Those who have an idea about how a nation can and should be built should roll up our sleeves. And it doesn't, Nigerians think that political engagement means going to contest for elections. There's a conceptual difference between office and power. If they tell you now that Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk fell off a bicycle today, the American stock exchange will shake. Okay? If the American president falls off a bicycle, something will happen, but not of the same magnitude. It's Mark Zuckerberg, he's in power, but not in office. Elon Musk is in power, but not in office. So there is a difference. The problem with our situation is that Too many intellectuals don't want to distance themselves from the process because people are talking either because they want appointment or as soon as the opportunity comes, they want to jump in. You know, people must appreciate their capacity for who they are. I mean, so you look at somebody like Wole Soyinka, you ask yourself, you know, why is this guy still? He's not the richest Nigerian. He's not pursuing a career that will make him rich. But all these children have become governors, have become ministers. Why has Wole Soyinka not become a minister in Nigeria? I think he understands that his influence surpasses temporal office because he's already wielding power by other means. And in a more serious country, there are certain people, you know, government, I laugh when I see the way governors and ministers and presidents conduct themselves. People want to bring ceremonial figureheads who will come and give them. There are certain, you know, elsewhere. In the UK, in the US, you know yourself that at a particular level, there are particular journalists of such influence, okay, that the president should very quietly, whether he knows them or doesn't know them, somebody should tell him, have breakfast with Latin. Because if America is going to bomb Afghanistan or bomb, guess what? There will be certain people from the New York Times, Washington Post who already have an idea about what is happening. If a country does not harvest a lot of this, because serious presidency is about, I remember I was reading something about Abraham Lincoln. There's a man called Thaddeus Law, and we're talking 19th century stuff, 20th century stuff. And 19th, 20th century stuff. This man has never been to school. He just taught himself science. And he came up with the idea of the balloon as a listening post during the war. And he said, I can demonstrate. And people were saying, this guy, you didn't go to school, what are you talking about?
What can you demonstrate?
But guess what? When he did a demonstration, Abraham Lincoln invited him to the White House, and he stayed the night in the White House because I want to hear what you're talking about. The generals were saying, this guy, you're not a soldier, this guy is spoiling our gari, this is not the kind of... At the end of the day, this guy designed a balloon, started using the balloon until the balloons themselves became effective tools for fighting and ending the war. What am I saying? A president, a governor, must have the capacity to look out for people with certain intellectual capacity. People to say, you are holding an office, you don't know everything. And a president, you must have a listening device. No matter what position you are holding, you must have a listening device that tells you things that ordinarily, because your praise singers are looking for work and they're looking for food. They're not interested. They're going to shut out whatever can be shut out. But you have to have the sophistication. Know that you can pick up your phone.
I cannot end this discussion without raising the issue of religion. And that is because Nigerians are said to be extremely religious people. All across. Both Orthodox and unorthodox religion. There's hardly any Nigerian you come across who doesn't believe in spirituality, a higher purpose, and all of that. And but then, of course, the argument is different when you say how that translates into their behavior and the way they act in interaction with others. But I raise it because that then gives a lot of power to religious leaders, people who lead groups in terms of faith. And because often people say that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, people say that religion is not based on logic or reasoning. It's a faith matter, and that sometimes, therefore, those who are in the leadership of those things can actually use that to overcome what would have been challenges or confrontations to positions they have held, which people might have had questions about, if not for the fact that it's about faith, it's not about reasoning. In Nigeria, it is said that many of our religious leaders too have become part of the problem, and that in fact they've also joined groups. Some of those you described earlier as, some people calling them mafia, to push particular interests and so on, and that therefore they have also fanned the embers of community discord, pitching one particular group of religious beliefs against the other, which on closer examination there is really no difference.
My PhD thesis was on religion, politics, and power in northern Nigeria. I'm not an expert, but I understand the issues. and we can talk about this. Is a subject for another conversation. What we have as religion in Nigeria, we are having is convoluted variant, which is reacting to a complete collapse of the architecture of governance. And this kind of superfluous expression of religion and religiosity thrives only in this kind of an environment. Okay, you cannot plant rice where there's no water and expect it to grow. So this environment is ripe for this kind of superfluous religiosity. So that's why you see if you go to many of the Pentecostal churches outside Nigeria, quite a lot of them are the same Nigerians who are, and the problems are over visa, over immigration status, we are looking for a God, okay, to do X, Y, Z for us. Very few of these people of us are talking about a God to serve. The big elephant in the room for us in Nigeria is Islam and Christianity. And if you come from a Christian tradition where the issues of the relationship between church and state is pretty well defined, it's not the same with Islam, especially Islam in northern Nigeria, where you have the most significant population. The very fact that Christianity has a very limited, Islam was in Nigeria for about 600-700 years before Christianity came. So the very fact that the other day, Lamido Sanusi, former emir, whether it's former emir of Kano or 14th emir of Kano, but he said that I was on a Zoom conference with him, and he said something very striking. He said that they counted in Kano, and there were about 950 main mosques in Kano. And they counted the churches, and there were 800 churches, about 800 churches in Kano. So there is a sense in which there is a certain kind of nervousness. We've been in this room for too long, so how are you guys encroaching to our space? The way Islam sees engagement of religion and the state is completely different. It is that you can use the apparatus of state to build a religion. And we see it when we see governors building mosques here and there. Of course, Christians are now building churches here and there. But the point is that Northern Islam has come with a slightly different template with Islam in the Southwest. Northern Islam came or took a new identity and a greater sense of urgency when he created a state between 1804 and 1903. The colonial administration didn't help matters, because when Christianity appeared in northern Nigeria, the colonial administration said, no, we don't want you to disturb Islam so that won't create problems. So a mentality has grown today that Christians can be seen in these places, but don't raise your voice. So the whole debate about where can I worship? There are many universities today in northern Nigeria where Christians don't have a place of worship. It may be the same in the south, in southern Nigeria, where Muslims don't have a place of worship. Whose business is that? If you go to Kano, for example, it's there that if you want to get a place to build a church, the papers will tell you, even if you get a land, they tell you very clearly, make sure you don't build a brothel. You don't build a church. So a church is sitting side by side with a brothel. I'm saying that the inability of the Nigerian political class to resolve this distortion, which is that it is not the business of the state to build up religion. So when people say that we have NIREC, and NIREC is 25 Christians and 25 Muslims, but a lot of the people are largely traditional rulers. Now, a traditional ruler is not a religious leader. Because for me to become a bishop and to become a priest, I had to go through years of training before I ended up. Now, I am Bishop of Sokoto. I didn't take myself to Sokoto. The Holy Father appointed me as Bishop of Sokoto. So if I have a problem with the governor or the president of Nigeria today, all they can do is take me to court. But a traditional ruler does not have the same latitude because it's appointed by the governor. And a governor will choose a banker or choose a lawyer or choose anybody of his choice and give you this position. So the result is that we are having this lack of clarity as to where does religion start and where does the state stop. Ordinarily, in pure political science definition, this is what, again, you get from the history of America and other places. If the Constitution does not define all of this, but to show how redundant the Nigerian Constitution is, Section 10 talks about the fact that Nigeria state shall not adopt any religion as a state religion. So that is it from one point of view, that we have completely different ideas. There are videos now that are going around. They've been going around about what happened in the 2014, 2015 elections, the 2019 elections. The videos are now coming out of people who are saying, our religion does not allow us to vote for somebody who is not of our religion. You can hear that in Christianity and Islam. The suspicion has become so deep. And that is why in my Easter message, one of the things I said was, Christians and Muslims in Nigeria, if you're serious, you've got your job cut out for you. Because guess what? People are deciding now to become atheists. So forget them. Don't worry about whether Christians are your problem or Muslims are your problem. It is that from your churches and your mosques, people have decided we are not doing again. Because what we are seeing is not... Now, the young man who has been sentenced to prison in Kano on the ground that he has decided to become an atheist, does the state have that right? In the same state where a constitution, the supreme document of the country, says that you are free to adopt a religion, you are free to change your religion, you are free to associate, you are free to... So in many cases, you find that the state is pandering around religion, and it ought not to be so. But the second point, arising from what you're saying, is that people have become religious precisely because religion has become an identity marker. Okay? If you go to the villa when a Christian is in power, at the time that Obasanjo was president, there were more Yoruba people speaking Yoruba around the place. And if you saw the way people changed their dress code to get attention. When Jonathan was president, people asked, you go and buy a bowler hat. The only way you can get into and get a bit of attention. Now you have to do, if you go to the other side where the vice president is, you have to be, if you are not redeemed or you are not a Pentecostal, I know people who are Catholics, okay, who, as long as the president is in power, they will suspend going to the Catholic Church because they want to worship with the president. It is a lucrative engagement. So what we are dealing with is religion as a commodity of transaction. If blood remains the basis for negotiation, okay, then we are living a feudal state, not a democracy. If social class, my father is a chief, my father is a general, or my father is this, if that is the basis of your getting into power, then we are running a plutocracy. That is, people who have the money will govern. If you say that you can be president of Nigeria based on the size of your rosary, or the size of the Quran, or the size of the Bible, then you are running a theocracy. We opted for a democracy. We could have chosen any of this, but now Nigeria is so convoluted. We are feudalists, we are nepotists, so people believe that to give your brother, your son, your nephew a job is taken for granted. That's what people expect to do. And when you go back to the village, people are concerned with how many jobs have you gotten. So now we are living, people like me, I'm just sitting and looking. People in power are sending trucks to their villages to go and collect people for employment in Abuja. The young people have never come to Abuja. I am getting information from young people that you'll just be sitting down, even in jobs that require uniforms. You see all kinds of people appear in uniforms. Some of them can hardly read or write, but they've been assigned positions. People are manufacturing and distributing jobs. Now, I know young people who are falling victim of this, because people can tell you want to go to the central bank to cost you 500,000. You want to get a job in FIRS to cost you 1 million. You want to get, whether it's true or false, I don't know, but these are the stories that you hear. So, such a state makes every citizen an orphan. So, this is where we are. How we negotiate this bend, because all of this is evidence of the tension and the crisis that we have. That's why will anybody not want to be president of Nigeria? There is no country in the world, maybe a few African countries, where you can be president and be as, I don't want to use the word irresponsible, but irresponsible in managing power, the way Nigeria gives you the privilege. Because you can decide what you want to do. You can call your mistress, call your girlfriend, call your nephew, write a check for $1 million, not a problem. So people are falling back on God. It is not a God that they are really and truly worshiping. It's a God that they are conscripting to come and do their will. So I want a job. God, help me get this job. Okay? We are not saying, our Father who are in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. No, God, come down and help to do my will. We are not saying, God, I want to do your will, because the Nigerian state does not even allow you that latitude. Because, like I said, I'm having a young boy, I don't know what to do with him. This boy designed a drone. The other day, a young boy came to my office. He designed something which he says is it's a generator that doesn't require.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.